Who are the top young prospects of every single nation in the 2022 World Cup? Hi, if you're new here, I'm Filippo, and welcome to Tactical Manager TV, and welcome to another World Cup special episode, which obviously with the start of October and November, we're going to ramp it up and do a bunch of World Cup videos, but right now it's a World Cup special here in the month of August, September. And today we're going to go through every single nation of the World Cup, and I'm going to give you a top prospect that you should watch out in this World Cup. But look, before we start, there are a couple things that I need you to keep in mind. The first one is I will go in alphabetical order of the groups, which means I'll start with Group A, and you will also find out if I know the alphabet or not. And trust me, I do know the alphabet, okay? Now, the second thing to note here is we will cap it on U23 for the year of 2022, which means only players born in 1999 or after make the cut. So if you comment a player that I forgot and he was born in 1998 or before that, you will enter Santa Claus's naughty list and Krampus will come after you. Trust me, I know him and he will. So another thing to keep in mind, I know the Golden Boy Award is usually U21, but for the sake of this video, I picked U23 as I just said, so just go with it, all right? I will also not necessarily pick the best player, but I'll pick the one that I think you should keep an eye on. Another reason I picked U23 instead of U21 is because a lot of the nations in the World Cup, they might not have a U21 player. So extending it to U23 helped me find a player that's still young, 22, 23 years old, and can make the cut. Otherwise, some nations just wouldn't have a player. Keep in mind also that not all these players are locks for their roster. So it doesn't mean all of them will be there. And some of them will be there and might not get minutes. Okay, so don't blame me for that. And I will try my best to get the pronunciations right. I'm the king of pronunciations after all. I get them all right. I'm becoming a multicultural manager at this point. Thank you for hitting the like button. Now we can play our beautiful intro and start with Group A. Okay, and for Group A, why don't we start with the host nation, Qatar? So for me, for Qatar, it has to be Homan Ahmed from Al Gharafa in Qatar. This one was an easy pick for me personally. Homan Ahmed was, to me, one of the most impressive Qatari players in the 2022 Gold Cup. He offered a lot for the team in transition, playing as a left back or left wing back at times. Definitely a player to watch in this World Cup. He's currently 23, so he barely made the cut. Now, Felix Sanchez really trusts this guy, so I'm going to go with Homan Ahmed for Qatar, and he is expected to be a locked-in starter for them as long as he's healthy. The next country in Group A is Senegal. This one was a bit tougher than Qatar. I was between Pape Matar from Tottenham, who is a great promising 19-year-old central midfielder that is just starting to get meaningful minutes for the national team after playing for Metz in Ligue 1 last season. And yes, they did get relegated in Ligue 1, but that is not the important topic. That's not important right now. The other option I was contemplating putting in this video was Crépin Diatta, the 23-year-old winger from Monaco that recently came back from a knee injury that took him out for over 6 months. So this was a tough one, but I'm going to go with Pape Matar. Diatta is roughly 4 years older. I'm looking more forward to Matar in this edition. I hope he makes the roster and gets minutes. It will be tough, but he is my pick. The next nation for Group A is Ecuador, which, by the way, Ecuador of the United States are expected to have the two youngest rosters in this World Cup. So this one was a tough pick for me. Ecuador, there were plenty of options to pick. Gonzalo Plata, Moises Caicedo, Piero Hincapié, and many more. But it was mostly between Moises Caicedo from Brighton and Hincapié from Bayer Leverkusen. So as I said, this was a tough one. It has to be between those two standout players. Moises Caicedo from Brighton, to me, is not just one of the top Ecuadorian prospects, but he's also one of the top central midfield prospects in the world. He will be 21 when the World Cup starts. Now, Hincapié is a center back for Bayer Leverkusen that can also play as a left back, a very technical center back that at age 20 is already starting in the Bundesliga for a top team. For Ecuador, he's a center back because there's Pervis Estupiñán as their left back. But look, I watched a lot of Moises Caicedo play for Del Valle in Ecuador. I'm going to pick Caicedo here. He, to me, is the most promising player Ecuador has ever had. I will also give a shout out to Gonzalo Plata due to his talent, but because of his inconsistencies, I can't put him ahead of these two guys. So my pick here is Moises Caicedo. The last team or nation for Group A is Netherlands. So for Netherlands, I was between Matthijs de Ligt and Ryan Gravenberch from Bayern Munich, both also former Ajax. They did play for Ajax at one point. I sort of consider Timber, that also plays for Ajax, but he's not at their level right now, in my opinion. But for this video, I'm going to go with Matthijs de Ligt. I'm looking forward to watching him in this World Cup, especially since the defense will be the most crucial part for Netherlands if they want to have any World Cup success. It's their strength for this edition. Also, he's 23, so he barely makes the cut. Personally, I think the highest ceiling is Ryan Gravenberch, and I'm looking forward to seeing him in the World Cup. But if I had to pick one here, it is Matthijs de Ligt from Bayern Munich. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. Now let's go to Group B, and we'll start with the United States of America, my country here, and we're going to go with my pick right away. It's Giovanni Reina from Borussia Dortmund, but let me tell you why. So along with Ecuador, the United States will likely have the youngest roster in the World Cup, so I had plenty of options to pick here. Yunus Musa from Valencia, Tyler Adams makes the cut, Brendan Aronson also from Leeds United, and many more are all U23 players. But my pick will be Giovanni Reina. He's currently the most talented American in my opinion, a major prospect from Borussia Dortmund with already over 50 Bundesliga caps at age 20. As long as he's healthy, he is the prospect I'm looking forward to the most for the United States. Next up is England, and my pick from England is also a player from Borussia Dortmund, and that's Jude Bellingham. This team, the English team, is stacked with young talents to pick from. Mason Mount, Phil Foden, Rice, Saka. They all made the age limit for this video, but my pick is Jude Bellingham from Borussia Dortmund, one of the best central midfielders in the world already at age 19. This guy has to start for England in the World Cup, and I also expect him to make a big move to the English Premier League next summer. Jude is the English player that I'm looking forward to the most for this edition of the 2022 World Cup. Hopefully he does not start against the US men's national team, but hopefully Harry Maguire does. Next up in Group B is Wales. This one I was between three players, Brennan Johnson and Nico Williams that play for Nottingham Forest, and Ethan Ampadu that belongs to Chelsea but doesn't really play for them very much, if at all. Despite being with Chelsea and not playing at the moment, Ampadu could very easily start for Wales. He's a great center back / central defensive midfielder, can play as a 6 as well, and he even played the full 90 minutes at their crucial game versus Ukraine that got them to the World Cup. But to me, it's between Johnson or Williams, in my opinion. Either one is fair. I will go with Brennan Johnson though because, I don't know, just my pick for this video. He did have 16 goals in the English Championship last season. I think he will truly be important for Wales this World Cup despite being just 21. Yeah, so he's my pick. Now for Iran, and I apologize in advance if I butcher his name. It's very complicated to say it. My pick for Iran is Alan Sayed Manesh that plays for Hull City in England. I honestly could only pick one name for Iran, and that's him. I'm not going to try to repeat his name because it's very hard to say it from Hull City. He's just 21, and sure, he's likely not to start for the national team, mostly due to all the quality that they have up top with Taremi and Azmoun. Regardless, if one of those goes down, he might have to step up, and at age 21, he most certainly is one young, promising player for Iran. I'm trying my best with the names, and trust me, they're going to get way more complicated. Okay, now Group C. And if you made it this far in the video, make sure to hit the like button because it feeds my ego. I feel better, and I also sleep better. It really does. It helps me quite a bit. And we'll start with Mexico. And obviously, L3 fans, they want me to choose Diego Lainez because he is my best friend. We're BFFs. Or Marcelo Flores. That's their most hyped young prospects, right? From the Arsenal Academy that's on loan right now in La Liga 2. I would have picked Edson Alvarez, but he was born in 1998, so he didn't make the cut for this video. So who am I picking for this video? So I will go with Santiago Giménez from Feyenoord. Before moving to Netherlands this summer, he had 5 goals in 5 matches in Liga MX. He's one of the most promising forwards from Mexico at age 21. Now, Tata Martino might not bring him to the World Cup. We'll see about that. But if he is there, to me, he's most certainly a player to watch. Also, Raul Jimenez has not been the same since that horrific injury he had for the Wolves. If Giménez balls out in Netherlands, we could maybe see him get substantial minutes in this World Cup. Who am I kidding, man? Tata Martino is going to probably bring Funes Mori. Next up is Argentina. Now, this one was one of the easiest ones to pick for this video. I was mostly between Julian Alvarez from Manchester City or Enzo Fernandez from Benfica, but I'm going to have to go with Julian Alvarez, okay? It's not really that hard of a pick. Alvarez was dominating at River Plate before making his move to the Premier League. He's absolutely fantastic. Argentina also has a stacked team of veterans, and they could very well win this World Cup. However, in terms of young talent, they do not have the same depth they once had. which if I was from Argentina, I would probably be worried about future generations post 2026. Until 2026, they should be fine. Enzo Fernandez, Julian Alvarez, and many other talents should be able to hold off enough. But we'll see. My pick for this video has to be Julian Alvarez from Manchester City. Next up for Group C is Saudi Arabia. And my pick is Firas Al Buraikan. And I hope I said that right. Probably one of the only relevant U23 players in their squad currently, along with Al Hamdan. Firas is 22 and plays for Fateh in Saudi Arabia. He currently has 12 caps for the Saudis with 4 goals scored and could very likely be a start in the World Cup. This was somewhat of an easy pick, mostly due to lack of options. Or maybe lack of knowledge of the Saudi Arabia team. Either one. You know, I'm okay with someone saying that I don't know jack crap about Saudi Arabia. I try my best. Next up, the last team of Group C, or nation, that is Poland. And my pick for Poland is definitely not Gaga Slonina because he picked the United States. So who is it? So my pick is Nikola Zalewski from Roma. He was actually born in Italy but represents Poland. He's currently 20 years old and mostly plays as a left midfielder, left winger. During Nations League in June, he got some good minutes for Poland, and it's still questionable whether or not he will be in the World Cup, especially now that we don't have much data ever since Paulo Sousa left Poland. The new manager hasn't had many games, so we're not sure who he's going to bring for the World Cup. He did also get a lot of minutes for Roma late last season, so as long as he keeps that going, he should be able to make it to their World Cup roster, but we'll see. However, Nikola, if he's there, he is a talent that you most certainly should watch out for. Okay, now we're going to go to Group D, and we'll start the current champions, France. So Mbappe, the technical director of PSG, was born in December of 1998, so he is not age eligible for this video. He would have been the easy pick, even though France is stacked with young talent, and I would probably have to do an entire video to mention all of them. So for this specific video, my pick is between Camavinga from Real Madrid or Tchouaméni, also from Real Madrid. Now, Tchouaméni has at least been called up lately by Deschamps while he was a Monaco player. Now at Real Madrid, I'm assuming that won't change. He is also 2 years older than Camavinga, most likely much more prepared right now. On the other hand, Camavinga has not really played for France since October of 2020. He'll need to get a lot of minutes on a stacked Real Madrid midfield to maybe get a World Cup call-up. So in my opinion right now, Tchouaméni is the better player, and Camavinga might be the one with the highest potential. Or not, who knows? Both are probably going to be world-class talents. My pick here is based on who I'm looking forward to the most seeing in this World Cup. So I'm going to go with Camavinga. I know he might not be there, but he's still my pick. I also hope Deschamps would probably call him up over Guendouzi or Rabiot. It would make sense to bring him over those two, in my opinion. Now for Tunisia, my pick is Hannibal Mejbri. And this was pretty easy. Hannibal Mejbri is the most talented U23 player for Tunisia. He's currently with Manchester United's U21, sometimes training with the senior team as well, and already has 16 caps for the national team. He mostly plays as an attacking midfielder, at times central as an 8 or sometimes as a 10. Will he start for Tunisia? It's unlikely, but he could get minutes this World Cup, and he is a young talent to watch out for. Next up are the Kangaroo Merchants, Australia. So Dennis John Rowe from Toulouse in Ligue 1 is my pick. And to be honest, there were not many options born in 1999 or after for Australia. Now, will he get minutes in the World Cup? I'm not sure. He does have 3 caps for the national team at age 23. He is a versatile player, capable of playing at the 6, the 8, or the 10, so essentially anywhere in the central midfield. He stayed on the bench the full 90 when they got to Qatar by defeating Peru on the PK, so, you know, he'll likely be there, but again, we don't know if he'll get minutes. But he is probably their best young talent to watch out for this one. So sorry, Australia, for saying you guys don't have many young talent. Also, sorry for calling you Kangaroo Merchants. Last but not least in Group D is Denmark. So for Denmark, I was between Jasper Lindstrøm and Mohamed Daramy. The 20-year-old winger, Mohamed Daramy, is an interesting one to mention. He belongs to Ajax and is on a loan in Copenhagen. He's extremely talented. He did get some minutes throughout World Cup qualifying, but for the year 2022, he has only been with Denmark's U21, so I'm not sure he'll be in the World Cup, even with the expanded roster to 26 players. My other pick was going to be Jasper Lindstrøm from Eintracht Frankfurt, and he is in and out of the roster. So for this video, I'm just going to go with Mikkel Damsgaard, the 22-year-old from Brentford. He's much more likely to make the roster. So I want to pick a player that will likely be there in this case. I don't want to pick one that you guys won't be able to see in the World Cup. So I'm going to go with Mikkel from Brentford. I'm trying my best here. We can't really predict what the coaches will do. So that will be my pick for this video for Denmark. But let me know in the comment section down below if you have extensive knowledge of Denmark, which is their best U23 prospect that will likely be in the World Cup. Next group is Group E. And let's start with Spain, which despite them having also a lot of young talent, it was kind of easy. Spain has talents like Ansu Fati, Ferran Torres, Gavi, but to me, as I said, this was an easy pick. That just comes to show how talented the player I'm about to tell you is, and that is Pedri from Barcelona. And look, Pedri's just 19. He has over 50 La Liga caps for Barcelona, is already one of the best players for Barcelona and Spain. Let's also look back at the Euros where he played in 2021. Pedri started every single game for Spain during their semifinals run until they were knocked out by Italy. Yeah, to me, this is an easy pick. Pedri it is, and I will die on this hill. Next up is Germany. Germany was tough. I mean, look, Kai Havertz was born in 1999, so he could be my pick. Florian Wirtz deserves a shout out here, but he probably shouldn't be selected for this video. He's currently recovering from a knee injury, and the last time he played was in March of 2022, so he might not make it to the World Cup roster. Karina Adeyemi from Dortmund is also a good shout, but none of them are my pick. To me, it has to be Jamal Musiala from Bayern Munich. Sure. You could say that Kai Havertz is a better player currently. I disagree. He's also 3 years older than Musiala. I also don't think he's better than Musiala, just to make that part clear. To me, he's the most talented player Germany has, no questions asked. The most creative one too, and he will be crucial for Germany this World Cup, and he's likely their most creative player, as I said, whether he's starting or coming off the bench. So Jamal Musiala it is. Okay, now let's go to Los Ticos, Costa Rica. Now for Costa Rica, my pick is Brendan Aguilera, the 19-year-old that plays for Guanacasteca in Costa Rica. Now, he is a very talented midfielder. European clubs should seek to sign him. He would also be very cheap. Towards the end of World Cup qualifying, he started against the US men's national team when Costa Rica played most of their subs at home, and they defeated the United States 2-0. Brendan Aguilera was great and got an assist in that match. He will be in the World Cup. The minutes may be low, but he's extremely talented, and you should watch out for him for sure. The last team for this group is Japan. For Japan, Kubo is my pick, the 21-year-old that plays for Real Sociedad as a forward. He struggled for Mallorca in the 2021-2022 season, but this season he scored for Real Sociedad right away in the first game. And I also think he's extremely talented, very technical player on the ball. He's definitely not a lock for Japan this World Cup, but I firmly believe he will be there, and I also hope he will be getting minutes. A major talent to keep an eye on. Okay, now we're going to go to Group F, and we'll start with Belgium, a team that most certainly has an aging golden generation, but they also have some very interesting young talent that we must cover. So for this one, I was torn between picking Jeremy Doku from Rennes or Charles de Ketelaere from AC Milan. Or Charles de Ketelaere. I don't know how to properly pronounce his name, man. I'm just going to call him Charles or Charlie. Either one. It sounds better. Easier to say. So last season, Doku dealt with many injuries, so he was not really playing for Belgium at all. He hasn't really played for them since the 2021 Euros. Now Charlie, or Charles, had a great season with Club Brugge and got his move to the Serie A champs AC Milan. He also did get called in for the national team in late 2021 and in 2022. Look, I'm going to go with Doku. As long as he stays healthy, he is a player I prefer here, especially after what I saw from him in the Euros. He played against Finland and Italy, and boy, he looked fantastic. Doku it is, and I also like his name. It's easier to say, and it reminds me of Goku from Dragon Ball Z. But to be honest, if they get minutes, both of those players, watch out for both of them. Now let's go to Canada, the Maple Syrup Merchants. So for Canada, it's an easy pick. Their best player will be 22 during the World Cup, and he is going to be my choice. That is Alphonso Davies. He is a world-class left back from Bayern Munich. I don't have to explain this one too much. Jonathan David from Lille comes in second place, but, you know, the reason he's not being picked here, it's not because he's not talented. It's just because Alphonso Davies is just a no-brainer. How could I pick anyone else? And congratulations to Canada. The last time they played a World Cup was in 1986. Most of us were not even born. Alphonso Davies was not born. Actually, none of the players in this video that I'm mentioning were born. Actually, most professional soccer players right now that are active were not born. Congratulations, Canada. The next nation for Group F is Morocco. So Hakimi from PSG would be my easy pick here, but unfortunately he was born in 1998, so he doesn't make the cut for this video. So I'm going to go with Azzedine Ounahi from Angers in Ligue 1. He has been consistently called for Morocco in 2022. The 22-year-old midfielder is very talented and will likely be one to watch in this World Cup. Now, of course, Morocco did just fire their coach, so if he does not get called up, don't blame me. But I expect him to be in Qatar as long as he is healthy. Last but not least, in Group F, Croatia, the current runners-up of the 2018 World Cup. So my pick here was somewhat easy in my opinion, and that's Gvardiol, the center back for RB Leipzig. Back in June, he was not with Croatia due to an injury, but the RB Leipzig center back is one of the most talented center backs in the world. He can play as a center back, he can play as a left back. I believe he even played for Croatia as a left back in the Euros. And to me, he is my pick. And as I said, he is a potential world-class center back, a great ball-playing defender for the years to come in general. Okay, now we're off to Group G. We're almost reaching the end of this video. So if you made it here, also hit that like button and drop your comments too. Who are your prospects? Because I might be full of crap. I might just be saying a bunch of nonsense. So let's start with Serbia. So this one was easy, but not due to a lack of talent. I mean, I really wanted to pick Pavlovic from RB Salzburg, the outstanding 21-year-old center back that will be in the World Cup as long as he's healthy. But as I said, it was easy. And I have to go with the 22-year-old center forward from Juventus, Vlahovic. The last 2 seasons in the Serie A, he managed to get over 20 goals each. He's also on track to do that again this season. At age 22, he's already one of the best center forwards in the world. So this was an easy pick. Also, Serbia is an interesting team to watch out for. They could be a dark horse in this World Cup. Next up from the same group is Brazil. Despite Brazil being stacked with U23 talent, this was also an easy pick. And doesn't it feel like Neymar is still a U23 player, even though he is 30? I don't know why, it just feels like he's still a young player. So we had options like Rodrigo from Real Madrid, Gabriel Martinelli from Arsenal, Antony from Ajax, plus the U20s coming up like Vitor Roque from Atlético Paranaense. Remember that name. Also Endrick from Palmeiras, André Santos from Vasco. No, really, remember those 3 names. Even though they won't be in this World Cup, you'll thank me later. But my pick for Brazil in this World Cup has to be Vinicius Jr. It just has to be him. He's one of the best players for Real Madrid, just won the Champions League with them, helped score, and he will be a starter on the left wing with Neymar playing central for this edition. If Brazil wants to win a World Cup, Vinicius Jr. will be crucial despite only being 22. After all, he is among one of the best wingers in the world currently. Also, if you want a full video breaking down Brazil, we did it here in the channel. We're definitely going to do another one for the World Cup. We already did one uploaded in July, so we'll probably put a link on the description or somewhere right here in the video, okay? Check that video out. Now let's go through Switzerland. For Switzerland, it has to be Noah Okafor, the 22-year-old center forward from RB Salzburg. He has 8 caps for the national team with 2 goals and 1 assist. He is expected to be their starting center forward for this World Cup, so keep an eye on him. He's a very capable center forward that provides goals and assists. In his club career for Salzburg, he has 25 goals and 19 assists in 83 matches. Also, for some reason, Swiss players always perform much better for the national team than they do for their clubs. I really don't know why. Just take Shaqiri and Xhaka as great examples. Next up, in the last nation of this group, is Cameroon. So for Cameroon, I was going to go with Christopher Wu or Ignatius Ganago. But my choice will be Brian Mbiumu, the versatile forward for Brentford. Now, listen, he was actually part of the French youth national teams, and he is a dual national. Just recently, he declared his choice to play for Cameroon. So obviously, he would have not gotten many chances for France, but that was his choice to go play for Cameroon. Regardless, he is a fantastic forward, and at age 23, he barely makes the cut for this video in regards to his age. He still has no caps for Cameroon, so I don't know. He just switched teams, but it's very likely that he will be in the World Cup. Okay, we are finally off to the last group, and let's start with Portugal for the last group of this video. And boy, I am tired. It's a lot of players. So Portugal has João Félix, Nuno Mendes, Rafael Leão, Vitinha, Mateus Nunes that just signed with Wolves in the English Premier League, by the way. They're all age eligible for this video, so it was a tough one to choose. However, to me, it has to be Rafael Leão, the versatile winger for AC Milan, the 23-year-old forward that can play on the wings or as a center forward. He's also coming from a season where he helped AC Milan finally win the Serie A and get back the Scudetto by scoring 11 goals and 10 assists. To me, he is a roster lock for Portugal. Now, in regards to starting, it could happen. It really depends on what Fernando Santos, the coach, decides to do. But likely Leão will be off the bench. Personally, I would start him for Portugal. He's the player I'm going to be watching out for this World Cup for Portugal. I think Portugal has a better chance of winning the World Cup. And hold on. This is a very hot take. If you're holding your phone, it might burn your hand right now. This is a very hot take. I think Portugal will do better in the World Cup if Cristiano Ronaldo comes off the bench. Okay, I know it's a hot take, just my opinion. Now, South Korea. So my pick for South Korea is Jun Woo Young from Freiburg, the 22-year-old forward. And I also apologize if I butchered his name. I really tried my best here. Now look, it was tough to choose as South Korea loves to play players over the age of 30. But I think he's a major talent. It's not clear if he will be in the World Cup or not because he's not called in consistently for the national team, to my surprise. He's a very good player for Freiburg, and Freiburg is a great team in the Bundesliga. But at the U23 level, I could not think of another South Korean player. He's also a key player for Freiburg, as I said. In the 2021-2022 season, he played all 32 Bundesliga matches for them. Next up is Ghana. So Ghana was tough. It was mostly between Salisu, the center back from Southampton, Tariq Lamptey from Brighton that just switched from England to Ghana, the dual national, Fatau Isaku, a major talent from Sporting in Portugal, and Mohamed Kudu, the central midfielder from Ajax. So Salisu and Lamptey never played for the national team, but they are expected to be in the World Cup. They should be there. But for this video, I'm going to eliminate them just to make it easier for me to pick. So I'm going to go with Mohamed Kudu, a super talented central midfielder for Ajax. There are good odds that the 22-year-old might start during the World Cup or at least play. So keep an eye on him in all three names that I mentioned also previously. Finally, the last nation of this video, and that is Uruguay. So for Uruguay, it was essentially between the top three age-eligible players, and that is Darwin Núñez from Liverpool, Araujo from Barcelona, and Ugarte, the holding midfielder, the 6 for Sporting in Portugal. Valverde was born in 1998, so he was not age-eligible for this specific video. Right here, I must pick Darwin Núñez. Last season, he scored 34 goals for Benfica in 41 matches, helped them reach the quarterfinals of the Champions League, scoring against Liverpool and getting the big move to Liverpool. The 23-year-old is one of the best center forwards in the world, despite being overly hated at times. His performances for the national team have not always been great, and he has also not scored for them since 2020. But right now, with Luisito Suarez and Cavani declining way past their prime, Darwin Núñez will have to step up in this World Cup if Uruguay wants to make a deep run. So to me, he's the main player to watch out for Uruguay. And one special shout out here is Arrascaeta. He doesn't make this video because he's too old for that, but he's a major talent from South America, a player you all should watch out for in this video. He's the main creator for Uruguay. But yes, Uruguay's best young player, U23 player, is Darwin Núñez. And let me know in the comment section down below if you guys want me to do a Uruguay breakdown video, which we might do in October or November. Alright everyone, thank you very much for watching. Drop the like button before you go. Drop also comments of World Cup videos you want us to make here in the channel for the months of October and November. And then obviously we're going to do a full coverage when the World Cup starts. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel as well. I want to thank you all very much for watching and have a great day.